Hi, welcome to NicheCraft. My name is Cassie and I'm your host, and today we are going to be learning the Royal Ridge stitch. This is the third block in our Crochet Along Afghan, and if you want to join, it's actually pretty slow pace, so I bet you could catch up. I will leave a link to the introduction and the playlist in that description, but for now I just want to show you the different stitches we've done so far. So this is going to be a stitch sampler Afghan that focuses on texture. So our first stitch was this beautiful alpine stitch here, and that creates this really beautiful texture. I love this stitch. And our second stitch was this basket weave stitch. And today we're going to be doing a much easier stitch than the ones that we've done so far. And let me go ahead and show you what it looks like. So this is called the Royal Ridge stitch, and I have made up almost 2/3 of a block here, and I just wanted to show you up close what it looks like there. And again, it is somewhat reversible. It looks very similar on both sides. I mean, I can't tell the difference. I do know this is the right side, the side that I started on. But as you can see, it's got these stripes along, and when we make this at the end, when we're joining these squares together, you can join it like that, or you can join it horizontally. It doesn't matter. And we will get to there once we've learned all 8 stitches. But for now, we are going to learn this third stitch for our stitch sampler blanket. And as I said before, it is called the Royal Ridge stitch. So in order to do this stitch, you're going to need to know how to make a slip knot, how to single crochet, and how to half double crochet. If you're unfamiliar with any of those stitches, go ahead and check my beginner playlist. I do have those stitches on my playlist. So that said, we are going to start with a slip knot, and the multiple for this particular stitch is any multiple plus 1, okay? So our Afghan, each block is 36 stitches across. So what I'm gonna need for you guys to do if you are doing the crochet along is to go ahead and chain 37 stitches. And I will be back when I am done with my chain. See you then. All right, so welcome back. I have my 37 chains here, and I am ready to begin row 1. Okay, so for row 1, what I'm going to need for you to do is to identify not the first loop, but the second loop from the hook, and that's where we're going to go into. Just to remind you guys, the loop on the hook doesn't count. The first loop is the first circle from the hook, and the second is the second one from the hook. So we are going to go into that second chain from the hook, and we are going to do a single crochet. All right, now that we've done that, all we're going to do is single crochet all the way across until we get to the end. All right, so I'm going to single crochet across, and when I get to the end of my row and have a row 1 of single crochets only, then I will come back and show you what the next step is. All right, guys, so I am done with row 1, which is to single crochet all the way across. Now mine's curling up. That's totally normal. It's kind of what single crochet does on that first row. So don't worry if yours is curled like that. The only thing to worry about is to make sure that you do have 36 stitches all the way across. If you are learning the stitch to make the Afghan, okay? All right, so now we are going to go with row 2. All right, so for row 2, we are going to chain 1 and turn. Now, this chain 1 is a turning chain. It is not a stitch, okay? So we're going to go into that first stitch this time. But instead of single crocheting, we're going to make a half double crochet into that first stitch, okay? We half double crochet by yarning over, putting the hook through that stitch, just like we would do if we were making a double crochet. Now we have 3 loops on our hook. Now if you were going to make a double crochet, you'd pull through 2 and then pull through 2 again. But with the half double crochet, we just pull through all 3 of those, okay? And then we're going to continue doing a half double crochet, same way, across the entire row. All right? So what I'm going to do is continue half double crocheting into every stitch until I reach the end, okay? I will see you when I get there. All right, so I am done with my half double crochet, and I did that all the way across here. And before I show you the third row, which is the repeat row, this is a 1 row repeat, okay? I wanted to show you something that's kind of cool about the half double crochet. So when you hold it upright here, right, you can see that this is a stitch, right, that you go into when you're basically, if you're going to do a solid block of just half double crochet, you would then half double crochet into each one of these stitches, right? But if you turn that just a little bit, then you see that this little bar right here that's underneath that stitch, it's almost like that has created another stitch right there. Okay, so it kind of looks like this. It's not as pretty maybe, but that could be a stitch, right? That could be a stitch. It kind of looks like it. If you didn't know, you might think that that's the stitch that you're supposed to go into, all right? So because it has this feature, this is why the half double crochet is a good one to use to make textured stitches. Now I'm going to go back to the one that I made already here, and if you see, all we're doing with this stitch is that we're pushing those double crochet, we're pushing that that top, okay, where we'd normally stitch into, we're pushing that to the front, and that makes this beautiful ridge here, okay? So let me show you what that looks like in this pattern. Row 3, now this is the repeat row. So first you are going to chain 1 and turn, and you will notice that if you look at the very top, that you will see a very clear stitch that you're supposed to go into. What I want you to do is not go into that stitch, okay? In fact, I want you to ignore those stitches and turn your work almost like sideways, so that all you're worrying about is if this is a stitch, if this looks like a stitch to you because it's turned, right? Then I only want you to go into that front loop, okay? Just that, okay? Or another way to think about it is, here's the top of the stitches, and each stitch has like a bar underneath it. So I want you to go into that bar. If you see this written in a pattern, it might even call it going into the third loop, because there's 1, 2, and 3 loops. Just wanted to make sure that that was explained. So the chain 1 is always just a turning chain, okay? So we go into the very first stitch, but instead of going into the top, we're going to go into this side right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a half double crochet into this side stitch here on top of every single half double crochet. All right, so if you see, I am only going into that one stitch, okay? I'm ignoring these stitches up here, okay? That's the top. and I'm only going into this stitch right here, okay? So after I do that a few times, you will notice that if you look on the other side of the work, you are starting to see that ridge, okay? So what you're going to be doing is continuing to, sorry, I bumped the camera. So what you're going to be doing is to continue to crochet into that loop, almost as if you're trying to push the top stitches forward, because that's exactly what we're doing. Is we're pushing those top stitches forward, okay? Now, when you're doing this, you might notice that when you're crocheting, the loop kind of pulls up a little bit like that. Don't worry about that. That's okay. When we go back and do the next row, that'll be just fine. No worries if you feel like that's kind of weird or if that's going to mess up the stitch. The important thing is that you get this ridge here, okay? And once you get used to this stitch, that won't happen as much anymore, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to half double crochet into that. Sorry, I skipped one, I think. No, I didn't. What I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to half double crochet into that third loop, or the loop in the front, or however you want to say it, okay? I'm going to continue to half double crochet, not into the stitch, but into the side right here, until I get to the very end of the row. Now, what we're going to do at the end of the row is we're going to just repeat this row. But what I'm going to do is get all the way to the end, and then I'm going to meet up with you just so that you guys can practice with me for one more row, and then I think that you'll be good to go. All right, I'll see you then. All right, so hi there. I am now done with row 3, and it might not look like much from this side, but if you turn it around, you can start seeing that ridge structure. So when we are done with row 3, we just repeat row 3, and we continue to repeat row 3 until we've got a square, okay? Or until it's the desired length, okay? So what we do is we chain 1. Now remember, that's a turning chain, so we don't have to worry about that. Now again, you know, this is the actual stitch. We're going to turn that to the side, and we are going to half double crochet into that side stitch right here, just that one loop, pull it through, pull through all 3, and continue to half double crochet like that. And I'm going to show you how, this is how we create that reversible material. Just going to do a couple more stitches so I can show you. If you look on the opposite side of where you're working, you will see that you're creating the next ridge, okay? It's just on the opposite side. So by the time we're done with the 4th row, we'll have a ridge on this side, and then we'll have a ridge on that side. And we just continue going on and on like this until it's a square. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to zoom out and give you some tips, and I think that we're going to be done for the next 2 weeks for this crochet along. All right, hi there. So what we are going to want to do with this royal ridge stitch is that you're going to want to continue to crochet this up until it is the same size as your other blocks for the crochet along, okay? And you're going to want to do that in all 3 colors like we've been doing for the other 2 stitches. Now, I do want to show you, if you have a hard time figuring out when you know you've made a square, because seriously, I have issues with stuff like that sometimes. All you need to do is fold your square over, and when it makes a perfect triangle, then you're good, okay? So I just wanted to suggest one more thing to do, just to make it easier when we're sewing this together, is that when you reach that square level, the last stitch you make is a single crochet row, and in there, because we started with a single crochet row. That way it'll just be easier for us to sew it together. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this stitch tutorial. It's a really nice stitch. It's a lot more muted than the other 2 stitches, but I think it looks really good. And like I said before, when you get this done in all 3 colors, then you can choose to sew it together either vertically or horizontally, and it's gonna look great either way. Thank you so much for watching this video to the end. Remember, I still have some giveaways going on right now, so you're going to want to find those videos and enter to win those giveaways if you haven't already. And if you want to get in on this crochet along, the next video isn't going to be posted for another 2 weeks, and every video will be posted every 2 weeks. That way we've got the pacing nice and easy so that anybody can catch up and you can go at your own leisure. And I have a playlist of the other squares, and I also have an introduction about how to pick out colors. And if you want to watch that intro video again, it's going to be just linked in that description. Thanks so much, and I will see you soon with another video.